My beloved child, stop right where you are. I know where you are sitting right now. I know the room. I know the silence. I know the particular quality of the loneliness that surrounds you in this moment. It is not the loneliness of simply being alone. It is something deeper and more painful than that. It is the loneliness of feeling unseen, of being in rooms full of people and still feeling invisible, of having relationships and still feeling profoundly unknown, of reaching out and finding that no one quite reaches back with the depth you need. That specific the edge of feeling forgotten by the world and perhaps even by me, is what I have come to speak into today. You did not find this message be scrolling past it by chance. I arranged this encounter because I have been watching you move through this season of loneliness, and I have seen what it is beginning to auto you. I have seen you pull back from people because the risk of reaching out and being met with indifference has become too great. I have seen you stop sharing the real things, the deep things, the true things, because experience has taught you that most people are not equipped to hold them. I have seen you build a version of yourself that functions perfectly well on the surface, while the real you retreats further and further into a place no one seems to be able to reach. And I am here today because I can reach that place. I have always been able to reach it. And I am not willing to let you disappear into it any further without reminding you of that. What you are feeling right now has a name, and the name is not weakness, and it is not ingratitude, and it is not a character flaw. The name is longing. A deep, God-given longing for genuine connection, for being truly known, for mattering to someone in a way that goes beyond surface pleasantries and functional relationships. I place that longing in you. I designed you for community, for intimacy, for the kind of love that sees all of you and chooses you anyway. And when that longing goes unmet for long enough, it does not simply go away. It deepens into an etch that colors everything. The way you see yourself, the way you interpret other people's actions, the way you hear silence as rejection and distance as abandonment. I need you to hear something before we go any further. The loneliness you are feeling is not evidence that you are unlovable. It is not proof that something is fundamentally wrong with you that makes genuine connection impossible. It is not your destiny or your permanent address. It is a season. A painful, real, legitimate season that has lasted longer than it should and has left marks on you that I fully intend to heal. But it is a season, not a sentence. And I am the God of all seasons, which means I am the God of this one too, and I have not abandoned you in it for a single moment. So I am asking you to stay here with me. I know that even the act of sitting still and listening, feels risky when loneliness has been your companion for a long time. Because hope has disappointed you. You have believed before that things were about to change, that connection was coming, that the isolation was ending, and then it did not happen the way you expected, and the disappointment added another layer to the wound. I understand why you are guarded. I understand why part of you wants to close this and go back to the familiar numbness. But I am asking you to resist that impulse for just a little longer. Because what I have to say to you today has the potential to change, not just how you feel, but how you see yourself and how you move through the world. And that kind of change is worth the risk of staying open. My child, I want to go beneath the surface now and speak to the specific ways that loneliness and feeling forgotten have shaped you. Because the damage of prolonged isolation goes far deeper than most people realize or most conversations acknowledge. When you have felt invisible for long enough, it does not just affect your social life. It affects your entire understanding of who you are and what you are worth. And I want to name those effects honestly, because healing begins with being truly seen in the place of the one. And I see you there. When a person feels consistently overlooked, one of the first things that happens is that they begin to internalize the invisibility. You begin to believe that the reason no one seems to truly see you is because there is nothing there worth seeing. That the people who have passed over you, who have not chosen you, who have been unable to hold your depth, that they were right. That the right response to your presence is indifference. And so you begin to make yourself smaller. You stop taking up space. You qualify your opinions before you share them. You apologize for your needs. You become an expert at making other people comfortable at the expense of your own presence in the room. And the cruel irony is that the very strategies you use to protect yourself from rejection end up confirming the invisibility. Because when you disappear yourself, people cannot see you, and then their inability to see you feels like confirmation of the lie. I also see what loneliness has done to your capacity for trust. When you have reached out and been met with silence, when you have been vulnerable and found that vulnerability unreciprocated, when you have invested in people who did not invest back, you learn a lesson your hurt was not designed to learn. You learn that people cannot be relied on, that closeness is an illusion, that the safest thing is to maintain a careful distance from everyone, to be friendly without being close, to be present without being known. And that strategy protects you from further hurt, but it also locks you out of the very thing you are most hungry for. A heart behind glass is a heart that cannot be touched, and the protection and the starvation come as a package deal. There is another layer I want to name, one that is perhaps the most painful of all. The loneliness of feeling forgotten by people who were supposed to remember you. The friends who drifted away without explanation. The family members who are physically present but emotionally absent. The community that welcomed you in a season and then moved on without noticing you had been left behind. The person who you said to call, who you said to check in, who you said to make you feel like you mattered, and then simply stopped without ceremony, without closure, leaving you to wonder what changed and what you did wrong. For that particular brand of loneliness, the loneliness of being gradually erased from someone's world, is one of the most quietly devastating experiences a human being can go through, and I see every instance of it in your story. I want to speak to something else that loneliness, that is rarely talked about. It distorts your perception of what is normal. When you have been isolated for long enough, you begin to lose your reference point for what healthy connection actually looks like. You either accept far too little, starving yourself of real connection and calling it maturity, or you over-invest in the first person who shows genuine interest, placing the full weight of your unmet needs on a single relationship that cannot possibly bear it. Neither extreme is your fault. Both are the predictable results of a heart that has been without what it needs for too long. And both are things I am going to help you untangle. Not with a list of runes or strategies, but with the healing of the root. The deep certainty of being fully known and fully loved by me, which creates the secure foundation from which all other healthy connection becomes possible. I want to name the lies that loneliness has planted in you, because they are not just feelings. They are specific accusations that run on a loop in the background of your mind, shaping every interaction, every expectation, every interpretation of other people's behavior. And I want to replace each one with the truth, not as a platitude, but as the lived reality of who I am and what I have said about you. The first lie is the most fundamental that you are alone. That at the end of the day, when the surface interactions are over and the performances are done, there is no one who is truly with you. That the space around you is empty in the way that matters most. My child, this lie is directly contradicted by everything I am. I am Emmanuel with you, not God watching from a distance, not God available on request, but God with you, present, here. In this room, in this moment, closer to you than the thoughts running through your own mind. I have not left. I have never left. Every moment you believed you were utterly alone, I was there, not silently, but speaking, reaching. Present in ways you were too exhausted or too wounded to perceive. The loneliness was real, my absence was not. The second lie is that no one thinks about you when you are not in the room. That out of sight is out of mind. That you occupy no space in anyone's thoughts or prayers or daily awareness. That you could disappear and the world would continue without registering the loss. This is a lie I want to demolish completely. I think about you constantly, without interruption, without forgetting. The number of thoughts I have toward you cannot be counted. They outnumber the grains of sand. I carved your name on the palms of my hands so that every time I open them, I see you. You are not an afterthought in my mind. You are the one I am always thinking of, always moving toward, always working on behalf of, even in the seasons when you cannot feel it. The third lie is that you are too much and not enough simultaneously. Too intense for some people, too needy for others, too sensitive, too deep, too complicated, and at the same time not interesting enough, not engaging enough, not easy enough to obey the kind of person people naturally gravitate toward. This double bin lie is particularly cruel because no matter which direction you move in, it finds a way to confirm the verdict of your inadequacy. But here, Mayor, I did not make a mistake when I made you. The depth that feels like too much to some people is a gift. The sensitivity that has been called weakness is actually one of the most powerful things. I place it in you. The intensity that makes some people pull back is the same quality that will allow you to love with a faithfulness and a depth that will mean everything to the right people. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are exactly what I decided, and I do not make mistakes. The fourth lie is that the loneliness you are experiencing is permanent. That this is simply who you are and how your life is. That the pattern is fixed and the isolation is your destiny. My child, I am the God who makes all things new. I am the God who called the isolated and made them into families. I am the God who took the outcast and seated them at the table. I am the God who specializes in turning the story of the person who has always been on the outside into the story of the one who becomes a home for others who have been where they have been. Your loneliness is not the end of your story. It is the chapter that gives the rest of the story its meaning. The fifth lie is that needing connection is weakness. That a spiritually mature person would be content in solitude. That the longing you feel is a sign of insufficient faith. That if you truly trusted me, you would not ache so deeply for human presence and belonging. This is wrong. I created human beings for relationship, with me and with each other. The longing you feel is not a spiritual failure. It is the evidence of your humanity, designed by me, and it is a longing I take seriously. When I said it is not good for man to be alone, I was not describing a temporary condition to be resolved by spiritual discipline. I was describing a fundamental truth about how I made you. Your need for connection is not a deficiency. It is a design feature, and it deserves to be honored, not suppressed. My beloved, I want to speak now about what I am actually doing in this season of your loneliness. Because I am not passive in it. I am not watching you suffer from a distance and waiting for the right moment to intervene. I am actively, lovingly, purposefully present in every moment of it, working things that will only be visible to you later when you look back and see the thread of my hand running through all of it. I want to give you eyes to see some of what I am doing right now, in real time, so that the waiting does not feel like abandonment. I am deepening your roots. Loneliness, surrender to me, does something in the human soul that busy seasons of abundant social connection cannot produce. It creates a stillness in which you can actually hear my voice without the noise of other people's opinions and needs and projections drowning it out. It creates space for you to discover who you actually are, not who you are in relation to others, not the version of yourself you perform for different audiences, but the you that exists in quiet, in solitude, in the presence of only me. That self-knowledge is not a small thing. It is the foundation of everything that comes after. People who have never been alone enough to discover who they truly are bring a fractured and unformed self into their relationships, and the relationships reflect that fragmentation. You are being formed into season. The formation hurts, but it is real. I am also protecting you. I know that is not what loneliness feels like from the inside. It feels like deprivation, not protection. But I want you to consider the possibility that some of the connections you have been reaching for and not finding have been withheld not because you are unworthy of them, but because they were not right for you. Because the timing was not right. Because you were not yet ready to receive them in the way they deserved or to give in the way they required. I see the full picture of your life from beginning to end, and I position things with a precision you cannot always appreciate in the moment. What looks like a closed door from your side sometimes looks like divine protection from mine. I am preparing people for you. Right now, in places you cannot see, I am working in the lives of people who will one day be part of your story. People whose own journeys are bringing them toward an intersection with yours that neither of you can yet perceive. People who will be able to receive the depth you offer because they themselves have been through enough to value it. People who will not be frightened by your intensity or exhausted by your needs because they will have developed the capacity to hold them. The community I am building for you is not the superficial kin. It is the kin forged in the fire of real experience, the kin that lasts, the kin worth waiting for. And it is being assembled, even now, in ways that are invisible to you but entirely visible to me. And in the meantime, in this in-between season before those connections arrive, I am asking you to let me be enough. Not as a consolation prize, not as the lesser option you accept while you wait for the real thing, but as the genuinely sufficient, a genuinely satisfying, genuinely intimate presence that I actually am when you stop treating our relationship as a placeholder and start treating it as the primary relationship it was always designed to be. I know that sounds easier than it feels. I know that my presence does not always feel tangible in the way human presence does. I know that there are things a friend can do for you that I seem not to do. Show up physically, speak inaudible words, hold you when you cry. But I am asking you to press past the surface level experience of my presence into the deeper reality of it. Because when you do, you will discover that I am more real, more present, more fully there than anyone you have ever encountered. And from that place of genuine intimacy with me, the loneliness loses its power even before the circumstances change. My beloved child, I want to speak now about what is coming. Because loneliness, when it has lasted as long as yours has, begins to feel like a permanent state rather than a passing season. The walls you have built begin to feel like the actual shape of your life rather than a temporary structure you erected for protection. And I need to speak into that resignation, into that quick acceptance of isolation as your destiny, and tell you plainly, it is not your destiny. I have more for you, so much more. I want to paint a picture of what I am bringing, not as a fantasy, not as a distant and uncertain possibility, but as a real and coming reality that I am actively preparing. I see a version of you on the other side of this season that walks with an openness and a security that the current you does not yet have. An openness that is possible because you are rooted so deeply in my love that other people's responses, though you no longer determine your sense of worth. A security that allows you to be fully present with people without the constant undercurrent of fear that they will leave, that you will be too much, that the connection will prove as fragile and temporary as the ones before it. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is the natural result of what I am doing in you right now. I am also speaking directly to the connections that are coming, to the friendships that are being arranged in ways you cannot see, to the community that is being drawn toward you even as you read these words. I want to tell you something about the people who are coming into your life in this next season. They will be different from the ones who have left. not perfect. I do not promise you perfect people, because perfect people do not exist this side of eternity. But people who have been true enough themselves to value depth over performance. People who find your realness refreshing rather than overwhelming. People who will stay not because you have carefully managed your presentation, but because they have encountered the real you and found it worth staying for. Those people are coming, believe it? I want to speak to those of you who have been lonely for so long that the idea of genuine connection feels not just distant but actually frightening. Who have been alone long enough that solitude has become your comfort zone, and the prospect of real intimacy, of truly being known, fills you with a dread that surprises even you. I want to say to you gently, that fear is not something you need to conquer alone before connection can come. I do not require you to be healed of the fear of intimacy before I bring you intimate relationship. I bring the relationship and I heal the fear simultaneously through the relationship itself. I do not wait for you to be ready. I make you ready to the very thing you are afraid of, with my grace running underneath the whole process, like a safety net that never fails. I also want to speak to the loneliness that exists within relationships. To those of you who are not technically alone but who feel profoundly unseen within the connections you already have. The marriage where you feel like strangers. The family where you have never been fully understood. The friendships that have become comfortable routines rather than genuine encounters. This form of loneliness is in many ways the hardest to name, because the world looks at your life and sees relationship, and so your isolation becomes invisible even to you. But I see it, and I am working in those existing connections though, softening hearts, opening channels of communication that have been closed. Creating moments of genuine encounter where there has been only surface contact. Do not count those relationships out. I am not done with them yet. I want to say something to you now that I need you to hear with the full weight of everything I am you matter to me. Not as a category, not as one of billions of people I am responsible for managing, but as you, specific, particular, irreplaceable you. There has never been another person exactly like you in the history of all creation, and there will never be another one. The particular combination of everything you are, your mind, your heart, your history, your humor, your depth, your struggles, all your gifts, is unique in the universe. And I did not create something that unique and that particular to have it go unseen and uncelebrated. I created you to be known. And I am committed to making sure that happens. First in me, and then through me, in the people I am bringing into your life. So here is what I am asking of you as we close this moment together. I am asking you to make one decision. Not a list of resolutions, not a program for overcoming loneliness, not a set of steps to follow. Just one decision to stop agreeing with the lie that you are forgotten. Every time the thought comes, no one sees me, no one thinks about me, I am invisible, I am alone. I am asking you to answer it with the truth. The truth that I see you, the truth that I think about you without ceasing. The truth that you are carved on the palms of my hands, and you will never, for a single moment, buy out of me sight or out of my heart. That one decision, met again and again, will begin to shift the ground beneath your feet. It will begin to create the internal security that changes the way you show up in the world. And when you show up differently, rooted, secure, no longer shrinking, the world will respond to you differently. And the season of connection that I have been preparing will find you ready to receive it. You are not forgotten, my beloved child. You were never forgotten, and you never will be. I am here, I am close, I am thinking of you, and I am not done with your story, not even close.